Good morning, Vault-Tec residents, and welcome to the first broadcast of Jologic Presents, How to Be a Capillionaire. I am Jologic, and I operate one of the most popular plans vendor camps in Appalachia, and I'm here today to give you a behind-the-scenes look at which plans I'm going to place in my vendor, along with pricing recommendations, so you too can follow these simple guidelines with your own camp vendor. Hopefully, through these videos, I can offer you some useful advice that will help you to run a successful plans vending business too. Now here in my ground floor vendor, I will be placing a number of plans that might appeal to some lower level players. Not necessarily right out of the vault, but for those that have saved up a small purse of caps and are looking for plans they may need to build themselves a better camp. Let's see, so I'm going to start off with some advanced power connectors. These here are kind of a staple for wiring up your camp. I'm going to put these in at about 555 caps. Let's see. Antique lights. I'll throw these in there at about 777 caps. Of course, if you're following along, you are able to put your plans in at the same prices, or you can put them in lower or higher. They definitely will sell. And then the antique wooden chairs, those there I'm going to put a little bit lower. I always try to leave a little bit of a differences in prices. Some people feel like they're getting a good deal buying one plan, that way maybe I'll get more sales. People will buy more of the 500 cap plans than they will the 700, but we'll see how it goes. I do have a system that I use regularly and it works. Go through my little list of plans here, put up bunk beds in there as well. Bunk beds, I'll put that up at 666 caps. I've been putting plans into vendors and running a rare plans vendor for about a year and a half now, and it has been very successful, so I'm glad that I'm able to take the time out. I hope you will enjoy the video just to get an idea. I get a lot of questions about, how much should I price my plans at, things like that. That's kind of what I'd like to show you today. We're going to put this bureau in here at 1,555 plans. That way people who are low level are going to see that and they're going to say, you know what, I'm going to save up and get that plan next time if they don't already know it. Now you may be wondering why I price my plans the way that I do with the same digit pricing. Now this is because once a purchase has been made, I receive about 90%. I get 90% of the listed price. So if an item is priced at 555 caps, well, I'll bring in 500 caps at the end of the transaction. These burrow signs, I don't expect that they're going to be selling quickly. If I sell one a day, I'd be happy with that. But I put them in at 555 caps just to see, if any of the lower level players are able to get them. Because what happens is on the with the daily ops where these plans come from, where that burrow signs come from, they are not available for players that are under level 50. So they have to wait until they get to level 50 before they're able to get them to drop, or they could just stop by Jologic's camp. Some cafe tables, they're a little bit more pricey. I'm going to put those in at about 999 caps. Cage bulbs lights there. Again, the cage bulb lights are another daily ops plan. That's why I have so many of them, because I do like to do that event every day. Communism posters, I'm going to put that at 666 caps. Now, while I'm doing this, let's take a moment and consider, who our target market is. A lot of times I get asked, who are you selling these plans to? Boy, some of them are expensive. So, so I always get like, who's buying these things? And so I think it's important if you're going to set up a vending operation that you take a moment and you consider who your target market is. Who is that perfect shopper? Who's that player that is going to buy the plans that we're selling? Maybe you're keen on helping out some new players fresh from the vault, that are trying to learn as many plans as they can as soon as they can. Well, if you're putting common plans into your vendor, and you're hoping to get rich, sadly, that's not likely to happen. As you see here, the decontamination shower, it's out of the rare plant is kind of common. I would like to get it into the hands of somebody who needs it. It's kind of a pricey plan, so I'm going to drop that down to 2,222 caps. Now, when you are setting up a vendor, if you decide that you do want to put in common plans into a vendor, you will find that they will sell if they are priced right. However, if you are placing them in a vendor, they will sell if they're priced right. They will sell even if they're not priced right. If you price them really high, eventually they could sell, but they'll likely be sitting there for quite a while. Having a vending operation where you are selling them like that, common plans, that is, the two drawbacks of that kind of an operation is that you are competing with almost 95% of the other vendors on the map. They are going to be selling plans that are very common as well, and you will find them priced from as low as 1 cap or free, all the way up to a very high amount. And so you've got a lot of competition, and it makes it very challenging if you're going to be trying to do anything well with your camp. Now, if you are selling your plans very cheap, then the other consideration is if you were to sell out, your profit would still be very low. Now, personally, my target market, those players that I'm trying to sell my plans to, they are quite often are the seasoned veteran players. They are the ones with the deep pockets and many caps to spend. Yeah, that's exactly who I'm looking for. Those high-level players, they think they know every plan in the game, and then when they show up at my vendor, they're surprised to find that there was still a plan that had previously eluded them. And it's actually available for them to buy with caps. Alright, I think elegant tables, I'll put that in there at 777 caps. Now you'll notice there is 2 different plans for elegant tables, so this other one is a little more expensive. I'm going to put that in at a little higher price. Now when a player does show up at my camp and they do find that there's a plan that they need, and they get that awesome feeling of what it's like to find a plan that they can buy with caps that's not priced out of this world, and these players, they're going to come back. They're going to come back day after day, week after week, looking for another plan that they need to get. That's what I call the Jologic effect. Now I'm also looking to sell to players of all levels. I'm looking for players that are happy spending their time in battle, those that don't have the time to waste server hopping, trying to find don't have time to server hop to try to find the plans that they still need. So those players, they're going to come to my camp, and I consider those players as a fairly large chunk of my clientele. They are looking for plans and I'm willing to sell them to them. It's kind of like a convenience store. That's the way I look at it. You might pay a little bit more, you might pay that convenience fee, but you will find plans that you need to know. Floor safes in here, just kind of a little bit of variety, so that way, I do have all 4 vendors, and each one is going to get loaded up with 30 plans, and or yeah, 30 different unique plans in them and multiple copies of some. Yeah, fusion generator, again, that's another mainstay of a camp. A lot of people like to get that. Let's see, I'm going to put a garden bench in there as well for 555 caps. What else do we got here? Put a metal bench in there as well for 555 caps. I try to keep the lower priced items, most of them on the lower floors. Yeah, I'll put some modern chairs in there as well. Well, what I'd like to do right now is take a little bit of time answering some questions. I receive questions probably every day for at least, oh boy, I'd say I get at least 100 questions a day on how to price things, what plans are available. You know, people putting in requests, and people looking for things and asking me how they can get, how they can get as many caps as I get running a vendor at their own camp. And so I'd like to take some time now, and I think I'll answer some of those questions. So let's see what one of the first questions that I've got here. Hey Joe, what plans are really good sellers? Well, that's a good question. Probably one of the best ones, one of the first ones I get. You know, how do I know what I've got is worth something? Well, firstly, it's definitely about supply and demand. Right, there are so many plans that are only available, say, during events. If that's the case, and it's an event plan, then you are looking at selling those event plans. If it's a seasonal event and it's happened recently, well, it's likely that the market is a buyer's market at that point. There'll be a lot more plans available than there are people looking for them. A lot of people have already recently done the event, so you're likely not going to be selling those event plans if the event has just happened. If you do come across, if you are a successful vendor and you do come across those extra event plans floating around, it is likely that they are going to be at rock bottom prices, and it's important that you pick them up on the cheap, regardless of whether you're going to resell them or not. And the reason for that, this will reduce the number of available plans in the game. Okay, this is the one thing that you can do to kind of help stack the deck in your favor. You'll put those plans, in your stash, store them on a mule, something like that. Someplace, just get them out of the way and hold on to them, because at some point in time they will be valuable and worth something to put in your vendor. Now, if an event has long since passed, it's probably a good time then to consider putting those event plans in your vendor. There are a lot of new players that are arriving every day, and many will have saved up some caps, all right, and they will be willing to pay what you're asking for those plans. The nice thing with that is they are going to be looking to buy those plans as soon as possible. Now, if an event that is scheduled to return soon is on an event's calendar, perhaps, or if it's currently underway, then you'll want to have the plans available in your vendor. Some people are going to want to opt into buying from you rather than grinding the event themselves, and you're going to capitalize on that. Now, besides the seasonal event plans, there are also daily events, plans you can find around the events around the map that you're going to find on a regular basis that also drop plans for successful completion. And some of those plans you're going to want to pick up. You're going to want to hang on to them, store them up, and sell them like crazy. Those event plans are going to definitely make up a good chunk of your planned sales. Now, if there's also some new plan drops, that will be, when they have it. Sometimes they have new events come out or new plans in different events, and if that happens, you're going to find that these plans are going to be sold at ridiculously high prices. Alright, so if you do put them in your vendor, make sure that you are putting them in at a very high price, and you will find that they will move through your vendor at warp speed. Yeah, Sometimes you might want to just hold on to those extremely new plans, and they might be best held for trades or fulfilling requests. As you see here, I'm putting in a bunch of bow plans. They seem to be hot sellers as well. When I price them at 1,555 caps, I will end up bringing in 1,400 caps at the end. I'm going to put in the ultrasight arrows. Are a little more pricey. They're going to go in at 2,222 caps. Now, I am looking forward to the update at the end of the month. So far, I have heard that our vendors are going to be all connected, so we will have 120 spots to fill, and that's something that I'm looking forward to, so I won't have to go from vendor to vendor. I can just put them all into one. I think it's likely I will probably still have multiple vendors in my camp that will all share the same inventory, and the reason for that is I do get a lot of vendors. I'll get several people at the same time looking and waiting for a vendor to become available. Another thing that people used to do was label their vendors. I mean, they're still doing that now, labeling their vendors with the kind of items that they can find in it, and I think you'll find that that's no longer going to be the case when the new vending system launches, and we'll be able to just have 120 slots. People won't be advertising what's in their vendors as much, I guess, or in each separate vending machine. Now, another thing we want to consider is there is going to be plans that people are able to find around the world. In the world, they're world-spawned plans. Now, these are also often overlooked, and they're hard to find. So if that's the case, you're going to want to find some of those, and I do plan on featuring some videos in the near future that are going to show you where you can find some of these plans that I pick up and place in my vendor. Now the harpoon gun flechettes, put that in there at 777 caps. Now, another thing to consider when you're considering what plans to put in your vendor, or what plans are going to sell well. Another thing to take into consideration really is that low-level players, when they first start playing the game, they might get up enough caps, and they're going to start putting their going to the robot vendors. They're going to look for things, and they're going to buy as many plans as they can. But then often they don't go back to those robot vendors. Whether they go back, ever is a question I wonder, because these robot vendors, they update their inventory, so you are able to find plans in those robot vendors that you weren't there the last time you were there. So I think I'll put this one a little bit more expensive. Maybe 44. Of marine armor helmets. I'm going to push these up to 33. Let's see how that goes. Now, let's take a moment and talk a little bit about the old holiday gifts. That was quite a popular thing a number of months ago, and many are still around. A lot of people still have them. And these were filled mostly with mounted plans, common plans. They also had prime receivers, a variety of plans that were supposed to be rare, but because of extenuating factors, the market was absolutely flooded. And the price of every plan inside those basically took a nosedive. However, since the recent patch fixed them up, I would suggest that you'd want to hold on to those plans, because at some point in time they are going to be worth something again. Might not be this year, might be next year, but it is something that you might want to consider if you have the ability to store them. Let's have a look at another question I've been asked here. Hey Joe, how do you know what a fair price is? Ooh, excellent question. If you were to ask several people that question, you'll receive many different answers. If you consider some of the players that already know the plan that you're selling, well, it's not going to be very valuable to them. So they're going to suggest, if they lean more towards helping other new players, they might say, oh, sell that plan for a low price. Give it away for free. That kind of thing, because the value is not there any longer because they've already learned it. If you asked somebody, some players, they consider that the price of some plans are equal to the price of any other plan for that matter. It's just a quarter pound of weight in your stash box. No sense in keeping it. Just get rid of all the plans for the same price. Now, some players, they get a rare plan. I often see when players get a rare plan, they think, oh, I'm going to find a way to charge max caps for that. I've seen plans for exorbitant amounts. When I think of the fixer plan here that I'm putting in my vendor, I remember the very first time I bought the fixer plan from somebody. I bought it and it cost me about, I think I bought it for about 12,000 caps. And I still remember, how much I had to save up to buy it. And then when I did purchase it, I went around, I found another one finally, and that was at 7,000 caps. And so then I took that second one and I sold it again for 10,000. And then I found another one that was lower and I sold it again for 10,000 until I basically had made my money back. And now I do sell them at 55 caps. It can sometimes be a little bit higher than what some people are selling it at, but there's a lot of people who consider that to be a really fair price. Alright, a couple of more plans. I think what I'll do is I'll put in unstoppable posters here for 777 caps. And I'll put the US flag in here as well. Put that one in for 999 caps. Yeah, I think every American should have an American flag, US flag in their camp. Alright, there we go. And now I'll go up to my third floor vendor. Now, on my take on what I think a fair price would be for a plan, I would have to suggest that a fair price is going to be determined by the person who's shopping at your camp. The value of a plan is always determined by the number of caps that a person needs to learn the plan. So, if somebody who does not have the animatronic clown plan, and they come to my camp and they have several thousand caps on them, 3,000 caps is not going to be that big of a deal. Now furthermore, the value of a plan is also calculable by the shrewd player, that businessman that sees a resale opportunity, for the plans you're vending. And I'll put the asylum light in there, and I'm going to put a couple of backpack mods in as well. I like to price those up at 55. Quite often you'll find that that's going to be the highest price that I would put a plan in. Not that it can't sell at any, that can't sell it higher. I've seen backpack mod plans for 10,000 caps. I've seen them sell at 15,000 caps. It's just what you set your own pricing, and I have a lot of people that come to my camp that want to resell. So I've got the customers that show up that want to buy plans so they need to learn them. And then I've got the other guys that show up and they're saying, you know what, I'm going to buy that plan, I'm going to sell it in my own vendor for twice as much. And that's okay. That's why I'm only going to put one in at a time of those plans. Alright, Edatronic is going to go in here as well at 33. That's a fairly popular plan that can get a very high price. Electric chair, I'd have to say, is probably not as pricey as the Edatronic. I have definitely sold it for more, but I think this week I'm going to sell it for $22.22. I do have a few more than I necessarily need, so I have an abundance of them, so when I do, that's when I sell it for a little bit less. And tables, again, those I'm going to put in 33, 33. Sometimes you're going to find players are going to show up to your camp, they're going to do some shopping, and they're going to see that the only plan, the last plan, a particular one, they need to know it as the only one that you have in your vendor, and they're going to buy that plan. Yeah, I think for the gilded wall clock, I'm going to put that in at 22.22. High-tech light set. That one definitely is going to sell at 33.33. Look at another question here. Hey, Joe, what are some of the best practices for a seller to help sales? Ooh, that's a good question as well. Well, there are several good strategies that you can look at. That you want to make your vendor stand out. Definitely build a better camp. Build a big camp. Build a camp people are going to notice. That's definitely one of the good ones to do. Build in a better location, right? I mean, some people like to build in the forest area because it's safe. They don't have to worry about getting nuked. You're also going to find, you're going to consider, number one, consider where players are going. If players you see players often going to the train station, well then, set up a camp near the train station. If you see players are going to an event area or a quest area, definitely, set up your vendors camp in that kind of a location. Some people like to set up in the ash heap over by the purveyor, and then I guess depending on what you're selling can make a difference too. Having a variety of items for sale can definitely be advantageous to your vending business. People are often looking for ammo. They're looking for script. So if you're selling, weapons and armor for script, definitely set up a vendor near the train stations. Get those people when they log in that are going to go and buy your 2-star, 3-star weapons for a good price, and they're going to go and script them. Here I'm going to put TVs in. I'll put these TVs in at 22.22. Everybody should have a TV in their camp. Quite often, when you have a variety of items on your in your vendor, you will appear on the map with that, with the different things. It'll show you the summary of what's available for sale in your camp, and it is an excellent way to attract customers because number one, they are looking for ammo, they are looking for script, they are looking for plans, they are looking for good legendary weapons. Most importantly, they are looking for that one item, that they've been, that special item they've been trying to hunt for. Just, what can they find? So I would definitely say a variety of stuff will make your vendor stand out. In my case, I sell only plans. Occasionally, you might find a weapon in here. You might find you might find some rare outfits. I sometimes have outfits available for sale, but primarily my sales are all from selling plans. You'll notice I've put in a few items here that I put in the poodle sleeping bag, 55 caps. I'd like to think that that's still going to sell at that price. It is becoming more and more common, but it is something that I think people would still pay that price for. A lot of the event plans, as you see here, I'm pricing at $33.33. Put a safe in here at $22.22. Now, another thing that you want to consider when you're building your camp, because you want to have a successful vending business there, you want to consider the ease of access to your vendors. It's very important. Vending machines need to be easy to find. Okay, they need to appear safe. Right. And if you're going to have junk for sale, it's important that you have a scrap box nearby Or if you're going to be selling bulk junk, it's important then that you also, in addition to a scrap box, that you also have a workbench nearby. And that way, if you have a scrap box and a workstation nearby, people can scrap their bulk junk and put it in their scrap box right away. I'm going to point out this plan here that I'm pricing. This is the signs and letters plan. You can buy it in a vendor for about 8,500 caps. And then what I do is I spend that 8,500 caps and I buy the plan and I bring it to my vendor and I put the price 3,000 caps cheaper. Right, I call that kind of an item of loss leader. People are going to buy that, and when they do, although I've lost the caps, it's something that people are going to come here regularly to pick up, things like that. This, as you can see, is one of my higher priced vendors. Yeah, I'll put a suitcase in here. I have to be considerate of my few more spots left to go. Looks like my next vendor. I'm going to go upstairs and do my last vendor after this one. Let's see if, these super reactors, they're not quite as rare as they once were. Again, I'm going to try to put them in at 55, and we'll see if that will sell. Again, a couple more televisions. I like to give people options as well, give them some choices. You know, you don't just have to take the modern TV, you might want the tabletop TV, or just the regular television. Sometimes I'll go through my my plans and I'll put them up in an alphabetical order. Sometimes I'll do it in, different things, different themes. But as I said before, when the new vendor update happens, we're going to find that it's not going to have much difference on separating things. Hopefully I'll be able to put my plans in a little bit faster as well. It definitely takes up a bit of time. I'll put the high-tech bench in here. Put that in at $999. Large tent in here. It's the large one, so I'm going to price that in at $666. Long Johns. I try to find some consistency, so if there is any Under Armour type plans, I like to price those at $555. The Long Pew, $666. Long Rustic Bench. That in at $666 as well. Lounge chairs. I'm going to put that a little more pricey. We're going to put that up to about $999. Marquee arrows. These things here are very popular. However, I've got an abundance of them, so I'm just going to put them in at $777 and I'll watch those fly off the shelves. Rustic tables, going to put that in as well. Yeah, $777 I think will be a fair price for that one. One of the questions you always want to ask yourself is, how many caps do I want to make today? If you want to make max caps, often, then definitely follow this kind of a pricing strategy. I am fortunate that I do hit max caps probably about every 30 minutes that I'm on. So what I usually do when I'm putting plans in my vendor, I always log into my private server. That way I can sit here, load everything in peace and quiet. I have tried doing this in a public server, and halfway through loading my first vendor, I already had people waiting at my camp to buy stuff. So now I log into a private server just so I can have a break and not have to be disturbed while I'm loading things in. This short rustic bench, I'm going to put that on sale today for 666 caps. Alright, simple long bench. Alright, I'll put these on it for $555. Sometimes I'm asked, well, what do I do with all the caps that I make? Well, that's a good question as well, because I really don't need the caps. I mean, it is a great feeling to be able to walk around the wasteland with caps in my pocket. The biggest thing that I do is, number one, I always want to buy things that are going to sustain my business, so I'm always looking for more plans, whether that be from players' vending camps, or if I can find them at robot vendors. Personally, I do prefer to support the humans, and that's where I will go first to buy my plans. Now, there is sometimes when I am hitting max caps so quickly that I have to drop those caps fast. Nothing worse than showing up at a player's camp and all their plans or all their items are really low price. I have no hope in dropping my caps as quickly as I would like. So a couple of things that I do. Number one is that I may go and buy a serum recipe, and that drops about 18,000 caps right away, and I'll pick that up to sell at a future date, and I'll sell resell the serum recipe for about 5,000 caps as well. A lot of people visit every day to buy serum recipes. They want to be the first ones in so they can get it. And let's see, toolbox for 2222. Another thing that I like to do is I like to go to players' camps and buy plans. I also like to go, when I have lots of caps, I like to go to different camps that are in the area around my camp. I'm in the forest region, so I just like to walk around and find players' camps, and I will buy everything. Generally, they're low-level players, so I will buy everything in their vendor, and I will then drop it back to them at their camp, and I will leave it for them to pick up and resell again. If I don't have the time to do that, as I said, if I've got lots of caps coming in very quickly, sometimes I just find the closest player next to me, and then I offer to get them to sell, or I request that they sell me a bullet or something of that nature, and I've bought bullets off people for about 10,000 caps. Looks like I'm getting closer to the end of my plans, which is nice. Alright, so a wooden spinning wheel for 555 caps. Another question here basically says, hey Joe, are vending machines worth the effort? Oh, absolutely. They sure are worth the effort if you enjoy walking around in the wasteland with some caps in your pocket. Absolutely. As you see, it's only going to take me, it doesn't take me too long. Maybe it takes me 30 minutes, 40 minutes, depending on what I'm putting in my vendor, and that's just kind of something I enjoy, setting everything up, putting everything priced right. Hopefully, I'll get some visitors after setting up. You'll notice in the bottom left corner there, I always try to make sure that I have no caps left when I'm going to start opening up my vendor. I want to have nothing, because that gives me a little bit of a head start then. Nothing worse than having 15,000, 20,000 caps and then load into a public server, and then all of a sudden somebody shows up and they're going to start buying from me, and I'm like, oh no, and then I don't have much time to get to the next get up to the max caps there. Alright, so bird bone serum. So this is a plan that I would have purchased for 18,000 caps, and I'm selling it for 55.55. That will likely take all of about 5 seconds for somebody to buy once they are in my vending machine, given that the fact that they would have to have the caps to buy it. Alright, the bunless cram burger. Alright, so one of the things I am going to be doing, as I mentioned before, is I'm going to be letting everyone know in upcoming videos on where to find some of these plans and how they can acquire them, how you're able to have a very successful vending operation at your camp. Now, I do really hope that you find this video informative. I will be posting videos regularly, just to help you learn how to make the most caps out of your vendors. That's kind of something that's important to me, and I'd like to share the expertise that I have in this. Now, if you do have any questions that you would like answered, yeah, please feel to drop them in the comments below. Now, if you already do run a successful vending operation, I would love to know how your camp business is going. Please share your some of your best practices, some of your helpful suggestions, things like that. We would definitely love to hear how things are going for you. One last plan to go. Mosquito spit, I think I'm going to put that at 1555. Excellent. All right, so there we have it, 120 different plans, multiple copies. I'm going to have a quick look here. 458 total plans. As you see there in the top corner, I have invested quite a bit of time, I'm hoping, into playing this game. Hopefully I will be able to reach that 7,600 goal there by the end of, hopefully, I'm sure I'm going to reach it by next month. Hopefully it'll be by the end of this long weekend that we're going into. Right now the Holiday Scorched event has just kicked off, and so I'm looking forward to making in some caps and buying some holiday plans, holiday presents, and then getting some of those new plans. Alright guys, it has been wonderful. I hope you have a good day, Vault Tech residents. Be safe out there, as after all, it is a wasteland.